What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. And today I'm going to be ranking every NFL team's offense tier list style. Let's kick it off with the Tennessee Titans. I'm going to be putting them in B tier. They have a solid offense overall. Tannehill's solid. I think their offensive line's okay. Derrick Henry's good, but he got injured. That means it will probably take him a little while to bounce back from that and be ready, fully ready to play. Obviously they lost A.J. Brown. That's the big thing. They have Robert Woods, but I don't see their receiving core being very threatening. So I think they're going to end up being around the middle because they have a pretty good running game still. Next up, Miami Dolphins. They brought in Tyreek Hill for a reason. That's to make their offense better. Their offensive line is still pretty bad, though. Yes, they did get Teron Armstead. However, I don't think that's going to make it automatically good. Tua is pretty average, so I think they're going to end up being a B-tier team offensively. Next up, New York Jets. They have a lot of young pieces that are good. Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, Zach Wilson. However, I don't think they're going to be good right away. I think they're going to end up being slightly below average. However, I don't think they're going to be really bad. So I'll put them in C tier. Next up, the Cincinnati Bengals. I'll be putting in S tier. They really improved their offensive line. Obviously, La'el Collins, Alex Cappa, the big ones. And they still have Jamar Chase. They still have Tyler Boyd. And they obviously still have T. Higgins and Joe Burrow and Joe Mixon. They just have such a good team that's good in every aspect for their offense. So next up, the Cleveland Browns, putting them in A tier. I think they have a very good team on paper, but we said that last year. I think that Deshaun Watson's good, but I just don't love their receiving core with only really Amari Cooper. So I don't think they're going to be amazing. And at the beginning of the year, I think they could struggle. However, they have a great run game, great offensive line, great running backs, and they just have a great quarterback, so I think they're going to be A tier offensively. Jaguars, D tier. Christian Kirk is a WR2. I don't know however you put it. Their offensive line isn't good. Trevor Lawrence is still only in his second year, so I don't expect him to be great right away. D tier. Lions. Jared Goff, as I call him, is still very below average. However, they have a lot of great receiving weapons. Jameson Williams will be there toward the middle or end of the season, likely not right away. They have Amon-Ra St. Brown, who emerged last year. They also have T.J. Hockenson, DeAndre Swift, and a pretty good offensive line. This offense could even be B tier. However, I think it's going to take a little while, and I don't think they're going to be B tier. Next up, Minnesota Vikings, A tier. They have a very good overall offense. Kirk Cousins, whether you like him or not, is very, very efficient for sure. Justin Jefferson, one of the best receivers in the league. They still have Adam Thielen to be their possession guy. And they have, obviously, Dalvin Cook and a solid offensive line that seems to get better every year. I'm going to have them be A tier, and I'm going to have their offense break out a little this year. A tier for the Vikings. Next up, Bucks. So I'm going to shock everyone and not put them in S tier. I don't think they're S tier. That's why they lost 2 guards on their offensive line. That'll hurt. And Tom Brady is only getting older, so I think they're definitely going to regress a little bit. The hot take, I don't think they're S tier. I'm going to put them in A tier. Still good, though. Next up, San Francisco 49ers. Great weapons. Kittle, Debo, Brandon Ayuk. Amazing running game every year. Trey Lance or Jimmy Garoppolo are both solid. So I think they will be an A-tier offense. Next up, Atlanta Falcons. Marcus Mariota, bad offensive line. Not a lot of receivers. No deep threats. It's just big possession guys with Drake London and Kyle Pitts. Bad offensive line. I think I already said that. It's just not good. Ravens. Very injury prone, so I expect at least one of their starters to get injured. That's just how it goes. Injury prone teams get injured. Lamar Jackson, probably going to be slightly above average. They have J.K. They have some solid running backs that get injured a lot. They have a solid offensive line, but they don't have any receiving weapons, any wide receivers outside of Rashad Bateman, so I think that will really be a struggle. Although they do have Mark Andrews, and I expect him to take a lot of the targets when they pass. Chicago Bears. Very young quarterback who did not look great in his rookie year. Not very good receivers. Not a good offensive line. They're not going to be good. Their best offensive player is David Montgomery, and he's not a top 10 running back. So when your best player is in top 10 of their position and you don't have anyone good, you're not going to be good. Easy. Cowboys are going to be B tier for me. Dak Prescott will be above average. However, their offensive line got worse, losing La'el Collins, and their wide receiver core got worse. Obviously, losing Amari Cooper. Also, their running back core got worse because they re-signed Zeke, which makes it worse. Tony Pollard is literally more efficient. That's crazy. But I think they're going to be average this year, and it's going to be funny as an Eagles fan. Next up, Texans. Let me explain this. They are bad. They're the Texans, okay? They stink. Next up, Colts. Very solid team. Jonathan Taylor, heads one of the best running games in football. Great offensive line. Solid game manager, quarterback, and Matt Ryan. Wide receivers looking okay. This could be an A-tier offense, but I don't think it is. I just don't think it has that explosiveness. I don't think Alex Pierce is going to be good right away. And I don't see their passing attack being that good. However, I think they will be solid for sure. Again, very much could be A-tier. This is like a borderline team for me. Next up, we have the LA Rams, and I'm going to put them in A tier. They have a good team overall. Cam Akers, Matt Stafford, Cooper Kupp, Allen Robinson, Tyler Higbee. However, their offensive line I don't think is going to be very good this year, so I'm going to have to put them in A tier. Next up, Los Angeles Chargers, dark horse MVP in Justin Herbert. They still have Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler. They got Zion Johnson in the draft. They got Rashawn Slater last year, who was really good. They got Isaiah Spiller to be more of the other back in their backfield in the draft this year. Just very, very well built offense. S tier. Next up, the Las Vegas Raiders. I'm gonna put them in A tier. They could be S tier. It's very close. They got Devontae. They have Hunter Renfrow, Darren Waller, Josh Jacobs, but their offensive line is still not good, so I can't put them in S tier. Also, and I think they're gonna have a very good passing attack, but their offensive line is gonna limit them from being S tier. Washington Commanders. I'll put them in C tier. To me, they're kind of like the Colts, but just worse. They have a much worse offensive line. And, the wide receivers, Terry McLaurin's good, but Jahan Dotson, probably not going to be great right away. Tight ends, offensive line is just really not good. And I think they're going to end up being below average. Next up, the Kansas City Chiefs. They're S tier. Patrick Mahomes is obviously one of the best quarterbacks in the league. They still have a very deep receiving depth chart. They have guys like Juju, Sky Moore, McCall Hardman, MVS. They have a lot of receivers. And obviously Travis Kelce, one of the best offensive lines in football, featuring guys like Orlando Brown, Joe Tooney, and Creed Humphrey. So I think they're going to be a very good offense. As always, very underrated team because they lost Tyreek Hill, but they had an amazing draft. S tier. Next up, we have the Saints. I'm going to put them in A tier. They've done a lot to help their offense. Still have Alvin Kamara, Jameis, Michael Thomas, but they added guys. Obviously, they added Chris Olave, and they still have a solid offensive line, even though they lost Ron Armstead. They also got Jarvis Landry, of course, and I think they're going to be pretty good. So I'm going to put them in A tier. Next up, the New York Giants. They're going to have a good running game, I think. They drafted offensive tackle Evan Neal, who's very good. They have Andrew Thomas from like a year or two or a few years ago. And I think with the new coaching, they're going to be able to have a good running back, a running scheme, and I think they're going to be C tier. Nothing special, but not bad for sure. Next up, Philadelphia Eagles. I'm going to put them in A tier. They got Jalen Hurts, who is above average for sure. They have A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, Dallas Goedert, 3 very good receiving targets. They also have just a great running scheme going and a good offensive line. So A tier, in my opinion. Pittsburgh Steelers, though, I'm going to put them in D tier. Hot take, I think they're pretty bad. Najee Harris is like their only player. They lost Juju, which isn't huge, but it is important. That now they do have Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool, George Pickens should be good. Pat Freiermuth should be solid, but I just don't like what they have going on at quarterback with Mitch and Kenny Pickett, and I don't like their offensive line at all either. So I think they're going to be pretty bad, honestly. I just don't see them being good with that bad of an offensive line, bad quarterback. That's just my opinion. Next up, Denver Broncos. I'm going to put them in B tier. Yes, they have Russ, but the receiving weapons just aren't great. Greg Dulcich, first-year tight end. Not a lot of good first-year tight ends. Very rare. I don't think he's going to be great right away. They got him, obviously, to fill the void of Noah Fant. And they have Jerry Jeudy. I think they're going to be average. Oh, yeah, Javonte. Offensive line. I'm going to put him in B tier. Next up, we have the Green Bay Packers. Super underrated team. I'm going to put him in A tier. Aaron Rodgers, one of the best to ever do it. They lost Devontae Adams. I know. But they still have great depth. They drafted Christian Watson, who is super athletic. He's going to be their MVS replacement. They have Allen Lazard, who should be solid. They have Sammy Watkins, Randall Cobb, Amari Rodgers. They have a very deep receiving core. And Aaron Rodgers is not going to be focused on Devontae, so he could be even more efficient. Allen Lazard, A.J. Dillon, great running back combo, good offensive line. Honestly, I'm going to upset the people. S tier. I said it. They have such a deep offense, and they have a great offensive line. They have the 2-time back-to-back MVP. S tier, Yeah. Green Bay Packers, S tier offense. Next up, the Carolina Panthers. Not great. C tier. I think with CMC, with getting Ike Mekwonu, and with DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson, I don't think they can be D tier unless CMC gets injured for the millionth time. However, I don't think they're gonna be good either, so I'm gonna put them in C tier, although they could be D tier. Next up, Arizona Cardinals. This is definitely a tough one because they have D-Hop, but he's gonna be suspended. They have Kyler. Offensive line's not great. They brought in Hollywood Brown. It's just a mess. It is an absolute mess of a team right now, and they still have Zach Ertz, and it's tough. They have James Conner, and I'm gonna end up saying they're B tier. I think there's so much chaos. They're gonna be solid. They're gonna be kind of bad in the beginning, kind of good at the end with D-Hop coming back. So I'll just put him in B tier. Buffalo Bills, S tier, no question about it. Obviously, they have Josh Allen. They have Stephon Diggs. They have an okay offensive line, not great, but they're so good. Josh Allen, one of the best quarterbacks in the league. They got James Cook, Devin Singletary. That's going to be a good two-headed running game. They got Roger Saffold in free agency. They have Gabriel Davis, who will be solid. They have Khalil Shakir. They have just such a good team, and Josh Allen is my MVP pick, so I'm going to give them S tier for sure. Seattle Seahawks. They still have a great receiving duo, wide receiver duo in DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett. Their offensive line, not great, but they did get Charles Cross. He should be good pretty quick. Real problem is quarterback. They've got what an epic battle between Drew Lock and Geno Smith. Wow. I think everyone is shaking at that. But they got Kenneth Walker. However, they still have a great receiving core. So I'm going to give them C tier, but just barely. Next up, New England Patriots. They have Mac Jones. They have an okay offensive line. They always manage to make their offensive line good, so I don't think it'll be that bad. They brought in Devonta Parker, who is like Walmart Julio. Like Walmart it's like dollar. He's like Dollar Tree Julio. But I don't think they're going to be good at all. But I don't think they're going to be bad because of the Patriots. However, there are some concerns because they lost their offensive coordinator. So I'm just going to say C tier. Anyway, guys, I hope you did enjoy the video. If you did, like and subscribe for more. This took a bit of time to make, and I thought it was pretty fun. So if you like football content and you want to see more tier lists, I'll definitely be doing that in the future. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye!